G'day everyone, hope you're doing really well. Thanks for joining me on this latest episode on Planet Coaster 2. And I hope you enjoyed my little tornado montage there at the start. Something a bit different, but it's probably not the most practical effect for a game like this, but it does showcase some of the power of the particle effects, the motion panels that we have in the game, and I thought it would be a really good opportunity to sort of showcase what you can do in this. And yeah, hopefully that's the type of content you enjoy, and if you did like the video, please consider liking and subscribing. It really helps me out. But let's get stuck in and I'll show you what's going on with this tornado. So firstly, yeah, there's a lot going on in hidden under the ground, and if you're not familiar with the motion panels, there's a number of spinning little platforms that are connected to each other to create a sort of twisted effect. And then I've got a number of particle effects and all sorts going around and around, and a little guest too, just to make it a little bit more interesting. I'll show you as well how I made these sheets of metal fly around like they are. It looks like they're sort of caught in the wind, which is cool. And of course the beach ball, which you hopefully saw in the beginning there. Just the way it bounces off the ground and flips around, I thought was really fun. So yeah, let's get stuck in. Okay, so let's get up nice and close to our tornado and we'll have a look at how it's made. The first thing you'll notice is when we pause, if you haven't already figured it out, is that the bulk of the tornado is made up of a blackthorn bush, scaled at very different levels based on its height. And because it's got these three colors, we can create almost a cloud effect by having a darker inner and a lighter outer. And that sort of helps it blend into the sky. So there, I think they're a really versatile piece actually. So something that I used as well for my Christmas tree in one of the shorts I did. And using the symmetry tool, we can position these around these moving platforms and create the symmetry we needed. So if we advance move this and you come under here, if you weren't aware, there's a symmetry tool which allows us to replicate an item around the axis, and that's very handy for effects like this one. So that's the bulk of the tornado, and the rest of it's just basically particle effects, and yeah, very carefully considered placement of those will make yeah, pretty much anything you want. So if I just come out now and talk a bit about the moving panels themselves. So what's going on here is we've offset these off each other to create that rotation. In my last video, we talked about creating any variable speed you like for rotating from slow to really slow. And that was really important to stack those on top of each other in a perfect line. In this case, we wanted to offset. And so what you can see is this one in the center isn't moving, and then this one here, if you can follow my mouse, is rotating around it, and so on. Each one is rotating around the previous one, and that's creating a twisty effect. And then what's happening is up here, each piece is attached to the various platforms. And I've got in the center this really fast spinning one, and that's sort of offset and angled to create that twist. And then where we need a slower rotation higher up, I'm using one of the other platforms below. And then by merging them all together, you just get that nice twisted effect of the tornado. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. I'm not going to go into any more detail on that, but if you have a play by attaching platforms onto platforms, you can create a whole range of movement in this game. And that's sort of how we did the floating ball as well, and I'll show you that in a bit too. As for the actual particle effects, it's probably worth noting that not every particle effect is going to really do the job, so you've got to be pretty careful. So these dust particles that are coming up are actually sprinklers, I think they are. They're coming up and shooting out, and I thought they looked nice just in creating a rapid dust movement. The next one that's probably my favorite is this sort of shimmering effect, and that's using I think it's the flame. So if I come into the particle effects, and I think it's this one here, the fire jet, what you notice is it's bright orange, and if we change the effect color to black and put it next to it, it actually removes all the color, but you still get this lovely shimmery effect, and that's what we basically have placed in a rotation using the symmetry tool to create that shimmer. And when you've got enough of those around each other, it just gives that really sort of violent wind look, which is exactly what I wanted for the surface of the ground there next to the tornado. So that works really, really well. So that's one tip. And then as well, what I've got here is another rotational platform spinning some more dust particles as it goes around, and then that's attached to one of the inner ones. And I just thought that just creates a little bit more variance as it goes. So you can see just that variety is how you sort of break up the visual symmetry that's sort of built into this system. By having a few random things like that, yeah, it works really well. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the middle section now. And yeah, you can see as I get close, my frame rate does drop a bit, but if we pull back, it's not too bad. It's definitely a bit hungry, this Tornado, for processor. So yeah, you probably wouldn't build this in your park anyway, but the principles are still there. And so I've got a whole bunch of steam particles hidden in here. Very hard to select now that they're in there, but they're there. And we've got these leaves, the falling leaf piece. So under, I think it's under here, the special effects, all these leaf particles, they're really nice because no matter where you throw them, they'll just fall down, and it gives that debris, yeah, that nice effect of the debris just sort of coming out of it. And they're not, even though they're attached to the rotational component of the Tornado, they're not actually attached once they've been emitted. So anything like that is very useful. The steam, though, as you can see, it's being generated as it goes around, and it creates sort of like that dust effect, as if it's picked up the ground. And the dust would then emit out, but the emitter will still go around and around. And you get it sort of adds to the twisting effect, I think, and hides some of the bushiness of the particles there. Okay, so next, let's have a look at how I did the lighting effect. Well, thank goodness for the update. We can change weather as well, and the lighting in this game, I still just think it's fantastic. It just looks so good. And you can obviously change the daytime from day to night, and you'll notice as it gets darker. And I just, yeah, by the way, every scene looks cool. There's a different effect. But when we get to nighttime, you're going to see in the Tornado itself, there's this lightning populating through, and it peeks out like it's in the clouds. And the way we've done that is a bunch of spotlights, because we can trigger them. And I've got them on a trigger, and they're hidden within there. And I've sort of had a sequence of bluer ones at the top, and then some sort of sparkling up. I did try using fluoros to create actual lightning, but you can't trigger those, unfortunately. Maybe that's something that will be added later. But if we get in here, there's some. And you can see yeah, the structure of the lighting effect. Now some I've just got stationary here, and some are buried within the cloud. Now it's going to drop the frame rate quite a bit here, but hey, I've always wanted to see a solid Tornado, so let's have a look at the mess that's here. Some trippy effects, actually. You can imagine as well, like this type of rotational effect inside a dark ride or like a haunted ride, which is something I might look at next, actually. But yeah, pretty cool to see inside the Tornado. But yeah, these lights are being sequenced. And then on top here, I've got these rotational pieces that are controlling the moving parts, like the ball and the wind and everything else. So a bit to go through yet. Okay, here's some behind the scenes of the magic. And yeah, it sort of ruins the illusion a bit. So didn't really want to show you this, but I think it's necessary to give you the full picture of what's going on. If I just jump back out of the nighttime here, and you can see all the lights flashing and whatnot, this is the sliders that I was talking about, which helps create this illusion of the panels of metal caught in the wind. And there wouldn't be a Tornado without sheets of metal flying around, right? And of course, our bouncy ball, our beach ball, which was picked up as well. Yeah, and so what's happening is the sliders are going back and forth, up and down. There's some rotators on the end, and that's just creating three axes of motion, I guess, rotating in both directions and going up and down and back and forth. Just sort of gave it that playfulness of pieces of metal caught in the wind, and it sort of goes up and then it stalls and comes back down and then gets picked up again. And then with the ball, a happy coincidence was I was playing with the oscillation where instead of just going around and around, it was going back and forth, and it created this hard bounce effect. So the ball looks like it's coming down hard, hitting the ground and then getting picked straight back up and then getting twirled around, which I thought, yeah, made some really interesting shots. And then finally our little statue, the girl floating around on her balloon caught in the wind. If that was a heavy thing, I guess it's not going to float around as much as a sheet of metal, so I just attached that to one of the base rotational pieces to get that effect. And that's just, yeah, I think when you add and add and add, one, your frame rate goes down, but you can create a more convincing effect. And yeah, just having a look again at the right angle of how I intended to view it, yeah, pretty cool. So I hope you enjoyed that one. A lot to sort of unpack in something like this. And as I said, it's probably not the most practical effect, probably better for SimCity, those types of games, but it does show what is capable. We can combine all these different effects to create something quite fun. So hopefully that was inspiring, and you can try creating your own special effects using the various things in here. Yeah, you got flames, you got all sorts of things, flowers, petals, you name it, it's probably there. And so, yeah, hopefully you enjoyed it. If you like this type of content, please consider subscribing. I'll hopefully be back with more different ideas and, yeah, just having fun exploring what's possible in Planet Coaster 2. Thank you so much for joining. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.